today's video, we're going to talk about the real reason your Facebook leads do not convert. Everybody makes this same mistake starting out, and they tell themselves Facebook's a scam, it doesn't work. The reality is people that have been around the block just know, hey, they're not doing it right, they just don't know how to do it, as long as there's a market for what you sell. And that's the real mindset you should have if you're going to make money with that online advertising in general for your business. It's not, I don't know how many campaigns that we've ran where it's failed and failed and failed for months. We finally tried and we got the formula right, and then boom, we made our millions for years after that once we found out the right formula. On Facebook, though, what people will do is they'll get a bunch of bad leads, whether it's spam, whether it's the wrong prospects, people are tire kickers, what have you, and then they just give up on it and they don't actually get to the point where they have the revelation, oh, this is what I'm doing. So that is exactly what I'm going to cover today. What's that overall process that you need to go through to weed out all the reasons why you could not get a good lead so you only can get good leads? I will go through that specifically, and this is the main mistake though, people, when it comes to lead generation campaigns, what they always mess up on is they don't follow these main core tenets here that it actually takes to be successful with your campaign to get real leads that will convert. And convert those leads you will if you follow these things. So before I get into the content though, if you do not know who I am Corey Ziman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in their profitability in excess of the management fee. We're the only agency out there offering this offer, which should tell you something about the quality of information that I'm sharing with you on today's video. So with that said, getting into the content. Most people, when starting out trying to advertise on Facebook or Meta, is they get a bunch of leads, okay, and then they don't convert, okay? And sometimes it's the issue with the lead, sometimes it's how you run an ad, or how you set up the ad, or how you set up the form itself. But generally speaking, the companies that have this issue, they're always going to blame the ad manager. The reality is, sometimes it's the ad manager's fault, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's on them specifically, and the ad manager's never going to make you any money unless you fix your own faults about how you are with handling the lead as well. About 50% of the time, it's the ad manager's fault that I've seen. 50% of it lies on the company and how they're managing the leads. You've got to realize Facebook leads are not handled like other leads that you get on Google, like from an organic click, from a social media lead. It's not at all the same thing. And if you treat them all the same, you're going to convert like crap. Your ad campaign's never going to make any money. So the reason for the leads not converting, for the most part, comes down to these two things. It's either you have spam coming through and you got to get rid of the spam, which really isn't an issue because if you had good leads coming through with the spam, it'd still be profitable. Or you're being too slow, okay? In which I'll add another third thing in here. Haven't ran your ads long enough. So being too slow means, as I just mentioned, you got to be a Facebook lead. The people that you are getting to fill out your form has the attention span of a freaking gnat, pretty much. They're going to fill out, if you're using Facebook lead ads especially, where they fill out the form directly on the ad without going to your website, they're literally going to remember they filled that form out for like 15 minutes. And then you're done. You're cooked. And if you don't follow up on that lead immediately, you're going to waste your time. Now, if you have an incredible company offer, all that, they may be able to be followed up a day or two later and make money. But if you're not making money, you know where you need to focus before anything else, which is speed to lead or speed of reply or speed of getting to the lead itself. And there's some very sophisticated technology that you can use where you can for sure get in touch with the lead within 15 seconds or less every single time, even if you have a shitty salesperson who doesn't listen to you about how quickly you need to follow up with your leads and them not doing it because they're lazy or arrogant or whatever. If you aren't running your ads long enough, okay, then also you can have bad quality leads because you use the data on the leads you have that are good quality to steer your campaign in the direction of getting more quality leads. That is either targeting different audiences or you do offline conversion tracking, actually importing the revenue data into your ad account or, where you score the lead and then the leads that are scored as good quality, you import those into your ad account and you use that to steer the ads, which you can also do. For the most part though, like I mentioned before, it's more often than not with a Facebook campaign that we're going to fail on the first try. We got to try different offers, different audiences, and it's not going to make money until we do some testing. And on the lead side, why they don't convert, well, one audience will convert at one rate. Another audience will convert it at a whole different rate. And you could have the same offer shown to both audiences, but the one audience just doesn't, the leads don't convert and one does. And so what I encourage you to do is test all kinds of audiences, all kinds of offers. When I say offer, I don't mean, offering it in pink or blue. I mean, you're going to offer them, 50% off the shirt this weekend only. If you fill out your email address, we'll send you a code, buy that way. And then the reality is you're using that email address to do other email marketing to them and hopefully making up the difference and thinking outside the box. Okay. Now, how you actually fix the leads not converting here is actually not complicated at all. The process that you should go through is you're going to add additional non-standard fields to your form if you have spam coming through. So if you're running Facebook lead ads, you don't want any spam to come through anymore. It's impossible to get spam weeded out on those forms completely, but if you add a non-standard form, it'll cut it down. But for the most part, what you should do is just ignore the spam. If you're getting enough good quality leads to make money, try to ignore it. Don't fix what isn't broken. The spam will a lot of times be coming a lot more from one audience versus another. So therefore, I would encourage you to test different audiences because you're going to get different amounts of spam from different audiences. I'll go to this offline conversion tracking. If you are using Facebook lead forms, you need to set up your CRM integration with your account so that the campaign will actually be steered in directions of leads that you have verified and validated as good quality leads so that the Facebook algorithm will optimize for more of those specifically. And you can set up your campaign to get only optimized for those. And that's the other way that you weed out spam, by the way, because Facebook can then tell which ones are spam, which ones are not, and not have your ads show up for spam anymore, even though it won't cut it down, get it down to zero spam. You can get it to where it's 80% good quality and 10-20% spam, and that's a pretty good result. Furthermore, you can use email or phone validation on your forms. So on a Facebook lead ad form, you can't do it. You can do this on your website, but spam comes into play as Facebook lead ads, which, by the way, 90+% of the campaigns we're running now for lead gen are going to be Facebook lead ads because they convert better. They convert better because they already know how to use them and they trust Facebook and they don't want to leave Facebook because they're lazy. And so you'll make the most money that way. You just have issues with spam. Well, if you take the raw lead data that you have coming in to your email or CRM or whatever, and then you have a system to check the email and the phone number for validation. There's third-party services that do this. You at least don't have to have your salespeople calling them all, and you'll verify which ones are fake and not fake by getting that done. In addition to the form lead having gibberish information in there. So that's something also I would suggest if you got so many spam leads that, you can't really, your salespeople, it's draining your salespeople's resources. The other thing you mentioned here is if you only have spam and no quality good leads, like there's no good quality leads at all in there, your offer or targeting basically just sucks. Okay? Your offer has to be good enough to attract good quality prospects. And as it comes to Facebook and doing lead gen, for the most part, you have to have a very, very specific offer in order to get things to work. And I'll tell you from experience, I will say if you have something that 1% of the general public could buy out there, you could run broad-based ads and have your offer for a diet program or an exercise program or something like that and make money. Okay? However, if that's not the case, what makes money generally for us on Facebook is coming up with specific offers. So if you're let's say a print company, you do printing, you offer print services, instead of offering brochures and, book printing and all this other stuff, come up with a offer for baseball brochures where it has all the team stats on there that people print off every year for their teams. Print one off like that and then market it to people who have kids in baseball. And so what they call message market match, it becomes super good. You got something that's super applicable to the people you're marketing to, and therefore you're going to get the response you want. Versus marketing to everybody who might want printing services, they don't really care and your campaign's not successful, which is something we specifically did in the printing space, by the way. Or your targeting could just suck, okay? So, if you don't target the right people because you don't understand who buys, you can similarly not get anything but spam. And for that matter, what you need to do is take your customer list and find the traits that make them unique. Target, or the more specific your product or service is, the more you're going to have to narrow down your targeting to get it to work, because every person who sees your ad that's not a good quality prospect costs you money. So for me, if I have a big customer list already, I'm going to go to Axicom and I'm going to give them my customer list and I'm going to have them do a data expansion. So I'm going to have them tell me, of the 40,000 unique traits they track on all Americans, which of the traits that people on your email list of customers have what traits. And then when I find the traits that most of my customers have that are in terms of commonalities, I'm going to take my Facebook ad and I'm going to narrow it down to that. So for that matter, we've had offers where we found out people that like eating at McDonald's matched up with our customer list. So what did we do? We created an audience list just targeting McDonald's eaters, even though it had nothing to do with McDonald's. But we had a health offer which kind of makes sense, because if you eat at McDonald's, your health is shit, right? For the most part, if you eat there regularly. And we marketed to people that ate at McDonald's. But you would never think of that for a health product, because, what would you think? We're going to market this product to people who are health conscious, who want to get into shape, who maybe even have specific health problems. No, you figure out these people all pretty much eat at McDonald's, so I'm going to market to people just eating at McDonald's. And that could be your way to fix the tracking side, so it's getting in front of real people, so that all the people that are submitting your form aren't just spam leads as a result. You could also, in terms of being too slow, going into that next here, you can use a program called Call Drip. So you could Google this service. It's a service where when you get a form fill on your lead ad or on your form on your website, if you are doing that, you can literally have it to where that form lead is turned into a phone call. And a phone call that your salesperson or sales staff or call center gets that says, John Smith just filled out the form. Would you like to call John Smith? If so, press 1. The salesperson presses 1 on their keypad, and then it immediately calls John Smith. And what this allows you to do is enforce that a policy of that every form lead needs to be filled out or followed up on within 60 seconds. And it makes it logistically possible to do that. Then every single person who filled out the form is going to get a call right away. They're not going to not have forgotten about what they filled out. I mean, literally speaking, more than half of the time we have clients that come to our firm saying they did Facebook, but all the leads were shit. It's because, and you ask them, they're like, how quickly did you try to follow up with the leads? And it was like the next day. And they'll tell you, oh, I called these leads. And they're like, didn't even know that they filled out the form. The reality is they just didn't follow up the leads quick enough. And so you either have to answer the leads right away in a lot of markets, or you're just not going to make any money. And the best, easiest way to do that is use that Call Drip program, which you can set up so that even with Facebook lead ads, that you could call these leads right away. So that is what I would recommend on that side of things, so that your lead quality isn't as bad, because people are going to be more responsive. And also, when they get a call right away after filling out a form, they're going to assume it was the form. Even though they don't recognize the telephone number on their phone, they will assume it's from the form. Similar to that, by the way, and this comes out of the real estate world, is just as a side tip. People answer the callbacks on forms if it's a local number. So there's services out there for real estate agents that allow them to pick a phone number that matches their area code and even prefix. And then you call it and it just looks like somebody that was calling down the street. You're like spoofing the caller ID essentially. So if you wanted to add that to the mix, or just in general, you might be able to get an answer rate that's higher to make your leads better quality, because they're answering at a higher rate. For the most part though, if you just call them right away, you're pretty much going to get 80-90% of people to answer the phone itself, as what we found, or at least half, we'll say. If you wanted to combine that with having a local number, you can't really do that you would pick a number, call them within 60 seconds and have it be a local number. You should be able to get 90+% of people to answer the phone. So that's a little hack there as well. The other thing you can do is you can have an auto SMS using Twilio. So with that, what I would want to do for my high volume lead gen ad campaign, Facebook lead gen ad campaigns, is I'm going to also, as soon as that person fills out the form, I'm going to text them an SMS message saying, hey, thanks for filling out the form. Is now a good time for me to call? I'd like to talk to you about what the service in question or product in question. As soon as they text back, I'm going to call them. That's going to increase my answer rate. But even if they don't call, I'm going to still call anyway. but it'll increase the answer rate you get from the leads because they know you're going to be calling, so to say. Because also as a part of that text, by the way, you can say, I will be calling from XYZ number. So even if they didn't answer the first time because they didn't recognize your number, they get that text, and then you try to call them back another 15 minutes later, if you really want to milk these leads dry for all they're worth, that's what you're going to do. You're going to call them right away, and you're going to call them after 15 minutes if they didn't answer the first time, and you're going to have the text message send out saying that you'll be calling from this number, and so that at least if they didn't answer it the first time, they're going to answer it the second time because they recognize the number. And then you also do that from the local phone number side of things, like I mentioned, spoofing your number so it looks like a local number. You can almost get, practically speaking, everybody to answer with that basic formula. So that increases the quality of your lead by making them more aware of who and why you're calling. For that matter, on the text messages, by the way, and a lot of people don't follow up leads enough. If you want every last sale out of every lead that you're getting, you want to follow up leads up to 15 times. If they don't answer, you keep calling. And for Facebook lead ads, you call about every few hours, 3 hours. Every 3 hours, you're going to call, and don't stop calling until 3-4 days pass. With the text messages, you could set up a drip sequence there as well as a drip sequence in an email. You could send a text message out using Twilio service. You make it sound like an actual human is texting them. So you say, hey, is it a good time to call? Oh, I tried to call. I didn't get, you didn't respond. Is there an issue? Then the next text that you have a couple hours later is, I'm just making sure that you actually, still were interested in the service. I'd like to be able to just call it. And even if you're not interested, I want to get your reply so I know how to take you off my list or not, and invite them to shut you down so you could basically get a response out of them. And then you just keep going. But it sounds like a real human's responding, but this can all be done through automation. Similar to that, you do the same exact thing through email. What the typical person will do on their email drip sequence is they'll have like HTML style emails, which, by the way, when you do HTML emails, it'll go into the promotions tab on Gmail, which 70% of people use Gmail now, and it ain't going to get seen. Use plain text, you're going to get better open rates because it's going to be in the primary tab. But along with that, you just do the same thing as like I just mentioned in text message form through the email. And when you hit them from all 3 points, the email, the text, the phone calls, you're going to get a hold of everybody. Some people certainly might get a little irritated that you're doing this, but I always tell our clients, they're the one who contacted you, not the other way around. The least they could do is tell you they're not interested so you could stop calling them. And then you legitimately stop. But, in my opinion, you're not doing your job as being an entrepreneur, as a salesperson, unless you're working that lead until it can't possibly be worked anymore. You follow them 15 times from all 3 different communication channels that are available to you, and they just didn't reply. And then you could, practically speaking, figure out, hey, this is a dummy lead or what have you, and that's it. But most people are going to follow up once, maybe twice, and they're going to give up. And with my approach versus your approach, I'm going to make 4 or 5 times as much sales, just because I'm going to have higher contact rates. And that's not just, I pulled that number out of the sky. You could research and there's tons of data out there about speed to response time to leads. The average form contact rate on a website form, you could find these studies everywhere, technically. It's like 30% of the time people are getting a hold of the person with the form. Whereas I'm going to routinely get 90% with the kind of formula I just talked about. So you spend all this money on ads and you're getting 1/3 of the leads to actually have an opportunity to close. Why are you doing it in the first place? Or should I say, why are you not focusing on what's going to triple your closing rates, literally speaking, and anybody could do, which practically speaking, it's not, getting 3 times as much contacts isn't going to triple your closing rates, because ultimately the people that you bug more, they're not going to close at the same rate. They're not as motivated as buyers, but you can certainly double your money you're making from the same amount of inquiries by doing the follow-up I talked about, or maybe a little bit more. With that said, that's the other way that you can increase lead quality per se. And then just make sure that you understand, this isn't Google, okay? And before I go into my point on this, if you like the tips I'm giving you and you really want to make money with ads, I mean really, and with that, you got to know how to actually do it. There's a lot of little things you got to know about running ads, not only just on Facebook, Google, other online ads, that if you don't know them, you're never going to make any money, because these platforms set up everything to make it to where it's, unless you're an insider, you're familiar with the platforms, you can't make any money, because they're going to steal your money by the mistakes you make. If you want to really know how to make money with ads, you should subscribe to this channel as a result, because I give you for free the exact methods we're using to guarantee results for our clients. And I'm able to do that because I work 70, 80 hours a week typically, and I spend 30 hours a week or so just working on this YouTube channel, whereas 40 hours a week or so, I just do ad strategy for clients as my sole job at our firm. So you're getting real practical advice here, which other YouTubers aren't going to do that. They're either going to spend all their time on YouTube and do no work with clients, run almost no campaigns, or vice versa. So if you haven't subscribed already and that's your goal, you absolutely should subscribe if you're serious about making money with ads. And you can make millions of dollars with ads if you just know how to do it. It's a lack of information, but the information's all here, so that's not an excuse now that you understand this. Furthermore, you can check out my blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has step-by-step instructions on how to use the strategies I'm using at our firm to guarantee results for our clients, with screenshots with everything you need to use them. I would definitely recommend you check that out as well if you've already decided that you like the channel itself. If you have any questions about anything I'm covering here, by the way, in terms of Facebook lead quality or any ad-related question for that matter, you can always leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. With all that said, okay, going back to what I was saying, Facebook is not Google. On Google, you could get, in a lot of markets, you have to respond within 60 seconds as well, or 15 minutes to make money. If you're in, a market where you're doing cleaning services even, or something like that, that's the case. People are not going to wait 2 days to get a response from you, for the most part. At least if you want to make if you want a decent closing rate on the leads that you're getting. However, it's still way more forgiving than Facebook. On Google, it was their own idea. They know when you call that it could be a cleaning company that I filled out a form on yesterday that is calling, so I'll answer the phone. Whereas on Facebook, they literally just do not remember filling out that form. They do not remember, they do not care. All you're doing is you're buying an opportunity to get on the phone with somebody who has a propensity to maybe buy something from you. And now you're going to need a high-powered salesperson to take the tiny bit of interest that you have and turn it into something real. Whereas on Google, you can have an average sales guy with an average approach make a decent amount of money, because these people, it's their idea. So you have to treat the platforms very differently. In case you're running Google ads and you're doing the same thing with your leads on Google as you are on Facebook, it's never going to work. Treat the leads the same way. You need a different sales process. And the actual sales pitch technically could be pretty similar between the platforms, but how you answer the leads at least has to be different if you're not aggressively doing the things I talked about doing with Facebook leads on Google already. But for the most part, even the pitch itself, it needs to be changed. For somebody who had fleeting interest, you're going to need a buildup of value on what you're offering, build some rapport even with the user when you get on the phone with them, instead of just saying, yeah, you called about a cleaning service, I'm here to get you a quote. No, it's, hey, John, how you doing? Where you're at? Where do you live at? Oh, that neighborhood's great. I love that neighborhood. I pass through a couple times a week. It's great. Are you a family man? Blah, blah, blah. And then you get into, okay. So ultimately, I know you inquired about, some custom kitchen cabinets. And what I'm actually here to do is just give you some basic information about it, so you can be more informed about buying kitchen cabinets from a company like ours. And then maybe if you're really interested after all that, we could talk about pricing and that kind of thing. And is that okay with you, John? Yeah, okay. Versus on Google, it's, when can we get you out for in-person demo in your home? And you just go straight for the sale. So it's totally different. You have to, if you're going to make money with these leads, you got to be able to treat it like its own platform, if you will, because it is. I already talked about offline conversion tracking. So the main thing is, a lot of this stuff is also technically sort of difficult to do, like the offline conversion tracking, setting up call drip. You can learn how to do this stuff yourself easily by just going online, reading stuff. But if you want somebody to do it for you, we're all familiar with all the things I just talked about and can set it up for you without an issue. Just reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com and we'll do it for you, and we'll guarantee your results. If you don't get so much of an increase in profitability from your campaign after running the strategies for us, we won't take a fee. You got to have the right company, the right offer for us to agree to take you on. and guarantee you something, but we can at least see if we can work together. The only way you'll know that is you reach out to me and we have a conversation. Similar to that, if we've already worked in your niche market before, we can literally sell you the winning ads, landing pages, all of it that work for your niche market. And you copy paste those into your ad account and you get the same results we did in a different city, state, or country. If we've already worked in your market, it would be silly to try to test all this stuff yourself to figure out what ads, what landing pages, all this will work when you could just get what we have already for your market. We've worked in 100 plus different niche markets, so the chances are quite high that we've already got you the results that you're looking for. So you should at least reach out and see what results we got in your market and what you would stand to gain. And then along with that, we also offer coaching. I've been offering a lot of guys weekly or monthly coaching calls where I go over what they're doing or they're just stuck where they're at in terms of the revenue and profit. And I ask them a bunch of questions about their business, their sales process. I look at their packaging, their website, their landing pages, sales process, all of it. And I let them know where the bottleneck is so they can get their ads to work. A lot of you guys basically, you think that the ads are the issue and really it's your website or it's your tracking or something. And I'm really great at spotting what those issues are because I've been doing this for decades now. And I can do a call with you and help you figure that out. If you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. But with that said, this is pretty much the formula here, how to increase lead quality. You can get rid of spam by, making your targeting a little bit better and or weeding out the bad traffic. But the main thing is you got to respond to leads quickly and you got to understand what to market and to who. And then once you've done all that, you got to have enough time to run your ads so you can find out of the 15 audiences you targeted, the 1 or 2 that's going to work and have time for the offline conversion tracking data you have to go into your account so that the algorithm that Facebook has can guide your ads in a better direction on top of that. If you do all that, you'll make money basically every time. So it's not a matter of if it will make money, it's just how much time and money is it going to take to set all this up and how much money and ad spend do I have to spend to figure out what I need to make money. And that's really the end of it. If you have a really good offer, by the way, and you think that you want to work with us, we'll also work with clients and take a percentage of your revenue. We've done this with several companies, percentage of overall revenue in the company in exchange for free services at our agency. You're basically paying us out of revenue. If you're interested in that, you can also inquire at our agency. Generally speaking, you've got to have had some proven success. You can't have had no customers, but we also take those deals on as well. So reach out to me at my agency if you're looking for that. I'll talk to you on the next one.
Remember when I said Facebook lead ads was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.